Hello, lovelies. Happy Mars Day. It is Tuesday, and on Tuesdays we wear red. I have just finished 23 days of a lavish focus. This is my new experiment, shall we say. I'll post the original blog post below so that you can see. But basically, it's 23 days of a lavish focus on something that'll shift the needle some way or another. And I chose tunnel vision. I chose to spend 23 days listening to me instead of scrolling, instead of reading what my colleagues are up to, instead of being distracted by the cornucopia that is the internet, right? And in the blog post, I actually mentioned the very first thing that I noticed was this lift of a pressure to be consistent. I'm not wired to be consistent. I tend to do surge and then it's not surrender, but then, serenity, shall we say. Um, and it has been something that I always thought I had to push against, that I had to show up. Like on Mondays, I send out an email, and on Tuesdays, I do this, and on blah, blah, blah. And I've discovered that for myself, when I stop listening to everybody else's shoulds, I don't function that way. And I am far more productive for following my own choreography, my own innate rhythms. Having done this now for 23 days, I wanted to give you a recap because it's been really powerful. The most surprising thing to me, first of all, was about day 20 to find myself sitting on my new balcony because in this time I had to move apartments, not had to, but I moved apartments as well, and as one does. And I had been kind of dithering about how to or when to launch this next 23 days of a lavish focus, which will be on upgrading everything. And I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I had in my head a whole lot of shoulds. I have been taught so many launch protocols, and I actually have one that I really like from my mentor, Kelly Deals. But the timing of my personal life kind of got in the way of that, and I was feeling pressured. I had originally planned to launch on the 1st of September. With the move, with all sorts of things going on, it just didn't work. And the more I shoulded myself, and in other words, honoring an outside voice over my own, the more pressure I began to feel. As the tunnel vision magic started to work, I questioned whose timeline this was. And the answer was it was nobody's. It was just one that I made up by assuming that somebody else's methodology would just magically sync up with my life. It didn't, and it doesn't. So on that about day 20, I found myself sitting on my balcony with my journal and kind of reverse engineering the launch from when I leave for my next Cunard cruise. My Cunard cruising is rapidly becoming a business thing for me because I emerge and I find more of my work when I'm surrounded by luxurious surroundings, weighted on hand and foot, when the luxuriousness that I love to have in my life is simply there and I don't have to actually create it. So we are leaving for a cruise on the 28th of October, and it just kind of easily occurred to me that I could rework my launch back from that date. And it was so damn easy. It was elegant and effortless and exactly right for me. And my whole body said, yes, this is going to work. This is going to be easy, including right down to today, where I said on Mars Day, we'll do a wrap-up video of the previous 23 days of tunnel vision. it was astounding. And from there, the shifts just multiplied. I saved so much bandwidth by not reading other people's posts. That was part of my scrolling thing because I have a terrible tendency to lean into comparison. And when I stopped reading their posts of other people who are doing kind of the same work as I'm doing, or at the same level as I am, or, published the book or whatever it is that I want to do, and now I'm feeling this, that reclaimed attention is absolutely what allowed me to move apartments with relative serenity. And it's all set up. We've only been here a couple of days and everything is unpacked and ready and set up. Plus, the timeline that I'm finding so easy to follow for the launch of 23 days of upgrade everything, plus being able to just show up for my clients in the fullness that is required of me. And yes, there are things that I'm still working on. I'm still scrolling too much. I'm still not always reading, but I'm still doing the scroll thing. And then I'm also playing too much solitaire, which is my kind of addiction of choice. It initially has been a self-soothing device, a way to think, kind of like being in the shower, right? When your brain is busy doing other things, or when you're doing other things, something mechanical and kind of mindless, your brain then starts offering you the solutions to the problems you've been pondering on. And that's what solitaire was and has been for me. I just play a few rounds of cards and some ideas will pop up. However, tunnel vision showed me that I go past that moment in my game where I get the tweak that this is enough and I need to move on. I need to go and do the thing that I've just thought of, right? I'm sure you have the same thing. You can be immersed in a game and there's just that tweak that says, this is enough. But we go over that, we override it. And in the tunnel vision, because I was so tuned into what I was feeling and thinking, I didn't override it quite so much. And I'm finding now that maybe I only play one round of solitaire instead of 6 or 7 or 10. The time saving has been massive. But what I'm looking forward to is basically putting that back in its place and not letting it dictate my time the way it did before. And time is everything it's about, right? After my heart attack 2 years ago, I realized that I have far fewer years ahead of me than I have behind me. And I wanted to suck the juice out of the time that I have available. Things like solitaire, things like scrolling, things like spending days dithering between this and that thing. They're not the best use of my time. And so this 23 days of a lavish focus on something that I knew would shift the needle really has shifted the needle. And it's shifted it in all sorts of different ways and in different realms of my life that I didn't expect. So in conclusion, tunnel vision has shown me that I don't need to consume more to create more. And in fact, there are certain seasons of one's business and probably of one's life when consuming less actually allows you to create more. Nobody's surprised by this, but the depth of that, the way it changes your life, your dailiness, has surprised me. And so I am intending to do a whole series of 23 days. In the blog post, you'll see the ideas I'm considering, but we'll start on the 1st of October with 23 days of upgrading everything, because luxuriousness is not necessarily an attribute, it's an attitude. And it's a way of viewing your life and a way of raising your standards. And one of my favorite quotes that I will close with is that it's so much easier wait, let me get this right. It's much easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than it is to think your way into a new way of acting. There are lots of people to whom that quote is attributed. I happen to love it because it speaks to the truth of the magic, the life-altering magic of acting as if and devoting your time to something that is intrinsically you. This is what my 23 days are doing. And I'm going to invite you on October 1st to join me in upgrading everything. I have so much in store for you. And it's all come from doing this first, the tunnel vision, embracing this business heresy of not listening to anyone but me, at least for a while.